You're muted, Carrie.
Thank you. I was saying I'd just give me a second to get the live stream up. We should be broadcasting now. So there we go. And I will start off with our chairs. Joshua Samin, Kenna, you said is not going to be here today?
Yeah, Joshua had a family emergency.
Okay. And so Kenna Lee?
Here.
Jerry Glazer?
Me too.
Alex Goodman?
He went unmuted and he didn't say now he's muted again.
Alex, say it again.
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Great. Thank you, Alex. It's also a good night mic check too, right? Dina Allen?
Yes.
Lisa Pierce?
I think
East Coast.
Yeah, out of town.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sarah Elliott?
Here.
Sunali Sikland?
Howdy.
Woody Hastings?
Here.
Jasenia Garcia?
Here.
Diana Rich?
Yes, I'm here.
And Sarah Gurney? I do not see Sarah here.
No, she is out of town.
Okay, and our planning commission liaison, Luke has now resigned. His last meeting was last meeting. That position is vacant, but it will be on our next planning commission agenda. So I anticipate that person will be on board the first meeting in October.
Great. And this is Sarah Elliott's last meeting before she leaves for college.
Congratulations, Sarah. Where are you going?
I'm going to UC Santa Barbara and I'm moving in next week. So I'm really excited. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone here for being so welcoming and letting me see everything that's going on behind the scenes in our local government. Yeah. So thank you all so much for letting me be a part of it.
Yes, Sarah got to be a part of the waiting interminably to present it for city council. So
yeah, that was
the most
fun.
So that will be opening our second youth seat up. I don't know if Sarah needs to have any kind of more official resignation than the email she sent, but
so Sarah, did I get that email? I don't think I got that email. If you could make sure.
Oh no,
yeah, Sarah, all I need is if you could just send me that email, that'd be great. And
okay.
I will get that to our city clerk, Mary.
Perfect.
So don't the rest of you get ideas about sending Carrie an email resigning, please?
All right. We have too much exciting stuff coming up, Kenna.
Yeah. So Carrie has an inspiration to share with us today.
All right, and it has been a while, so if I don't get the exact words right, I apologize. But I have a quote from Jane Jacobs, who was one of the planning world's most reputable urbanists, I'll say. She had a lot to do with the revitalization of the North End in Boston before the freeway was sunk down to connect the North End with the rest of the city. She had just a lot of really good ideas about urbanism and what it means to be a city of any scale. And she had a wonderful quote, which was, "The most important thing about a place is what is unique to it." And to me, that's actually the reason I love Sebastopol and the reason I love Northern California towns in general. So I just want to share that with all of you. And I think Sebastopol's a really wonderful, unique space. There you go. Unique place. And I think, everyone who participates in these types of groups and moves things forward is part of that. So you are actually all my inspiration because of that.
Thank you so much. That was delightful. All right, so my review of action items from last time, Joshua did check in with me and he said that the only action items to review was that all the working groups were asked to review the priority list and work on that over time. So that's easy. Do we have any comments from the public today regarding items that are not on our agenda?
And I see we do have a member who's from the public, or a couple members actually. So we have the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen, or you can show your face and raise your actual hand, or put in the chat if you'd like to make a comment. Okay, I am not seeing any, Kenna.
Great. So let's kind of follow that up with just reviewing what we would do if one of our members of the public, which clearly no disruptive members of the public are here today, but if we did have someone come and attempt to disrupt the meeting, what Carrie does is she makes us all co-hosts of the meeting. One thing when we did have a Zoom bomber in the past that Diana did was just make a lot of noise to drown out the person's hate speech. But we can also go, so it's because we're all co-hosts, we all can click on the participants list, which is usually down, there's a little icon at the bottom of your screen that has two little heads and shoulders and the participants list. And then if you open that up and hover over the people, each one has, like, you can say ask to unmute, or, you know, or mute them. And then you can click on more, and that has a report option. So we want to report people before we remove them. And now this has changed since last time I was in here. I don't even see where you remove them now. Do you know, Carrie?
It's under more. So if you, on that participant list, if you hover over and there's a more, if you click on that, there is what I find is an easier way. If you actually hover over the three dots on that person's video, if you can see the Brady Bunch square for them, if you click on the three dots about halfway down, there's a report and remove. But yeah, if you,
it's not saying report and remove for me. It's just saying report. Am I maybe not a co-host?
Oh,
no, I am
you should be a co-host. Okay.
Yeah, I think they've changed it.
So I am seeing on my list, but not for any of the committee members, but for members.
Oh, maybe for the public members. Got it.
I'm saying remove.
Oh, yeah.
Right, there you go. There you go. You can't remove a co-host,
got it.
but you can remove a member of the public. Okay.
So clearly this is not, we haven't practiced this so well, but the other thing that you can do in that participants list is there's a mute all button, and you can click any of us co-hosts or committee members can click the mute all button, and then the other co-hosts can still unmute themselves to speak and continue the meeting, but the non-co-hosts cannot unmute themselves unless we give them permission. So if there is an incident again, then please just all hands on deck, do whatever you can to report, remove, mute, drown out, whatever floats your boat. We will all be working on it together. And hopefully that will never happen. All right. So are there any committee members who have statements of conflict of interest today? I don't see any. So we'll be moving on to the planning department report from Carrie.
Okay, thank you. So a quick update on the Civic Spark Fellow, Phoebe. She is her first day of work at our CPA offices is September 20th. So getting close to her start date. We'll have her come to Sebastopol, and although she's familiar with the area, meet and with myself personally, and I don't know if any others want to meet with her personally, but I have invited her to the September 22nd Climate Action Committee meeting. So if we can reserve a little bit of time to introduce her on the project. I know first getting up and running, finding the door and then getting everything set up. And she'll have plenty of the research background documents from Tanya and the city to review, but we did want to let you know that we're getting close, and that's exciting. So she'll be on board. Other things going on in the city. We are about to start our housing element update. So if any of you are interested, that's basically planning for the next 8 years for housing within the city, let me know and I can add you to the email list for that. Most of those will be going, meetings will be held either with the Planning Commission, or our first meeting is actually going to be a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting, or City Council Planning Commission meeting. And that is tentatively scheduled for the Planning Commission meeting on September 28th. And that'll just kind of be an introduction to what the process is, not a lot of content at this point, but sort of the kickoff for that. We also had a great Calder Creek kickoff meeting, and so that project, the naturalization project, is getting started. And then just in terms of City Council, and Diana, if there's anything you feel to update as well, I did want to note that the council discussed both the Petaluma-Sebastopol trail connection. That's a multi-path connection similar to the Joe Rodota Trail and West County trails between Petaluma and Sebastopol. The feasibility study for that was completed in 2018, and that was presented to council last night, and council passed a resolution of support for that unanimously. And then they also did discuss water sales from the water tower, to mostly for water truckers selling to delivering water to people in West County, and did approve limiting that to potable water use, truck haulers, users, to make sure that it was being used for those, I guess, most in need, and prioritizing, drinking water, cooking water, animal water, that type of stuff. And that's just a, we don't know how long the drought is. You're the Climate Action Committee. I don't need to tell you that things are changing. And so that was at council meeting last night. And Diane, anything to add on the council city business?
No, I think you caught the highlights that are relevant to this committee. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
All right. So Diana, is there anything else that you as the city council liaison would like to report out to us?
No, generalized. I suppose the only thing I'd report out is that there is generalized appreciation for everything that the Climate Action Committee is engaging in and forging forward with. And that was clear last night also, as the city council assessed the future status of the various committees. The Climate Action Committee slid through there with complete support, not nary a concern. So thank you again for everything you're doing.
Great, thank you. And Carrie, I meant to ask, if there are working groups that would be interested in inviting Phoebe to their meetings starting on the 20th or after, what would be the best way for the working groups to offer those invitations? You're muted.
Thank you. I did see a big keyboard that was literally leave meeting, mute, unmute, stop and start video. And it's an actual thing you can buy.
Nice.
Probably the best way to do that for now, since she hasn't actually started, is to just send me an email with the request, and I will get that to her and Tanya.
Okay, thank you. We don't want to clog your inbox more than necessary, but
thank you. I appreciate it.
We have another pathway. All right, so we have a delightful agenda today. In case you didn't have a chance to review it, we have nothing on it except for the working group reports, which is really nice in terms of being able to really check in with our different working groups and hear a little bit about what you're working on, have some time for discussion of anything that you want to bring up. So I believe that the sequestration group has kind of the most timely business. So I would invite them to go first. And yeah, thanks, Dina.
Okay. So at our last working group meeting, we talked a little bit about their priorities, and we are interested in finding out about having our committee page of the city website reflect more of what we're doing and provide more information for just people that want to get their information that way.
Dina, do you want to call on people that have questions, or do you prefer I call on them?
Oh, you do it, please.
Okay. Yesenia.
Actually, Diana and I were talking about something kind of along those lines today. But yeah, I was gonna talk to Diana more about that. And if research could take that on, because we're kind of redesigning the website and doing some things with that. So that would be a good thing to tack onto our workload. And I agree with Dina that it would be a good resource for the community and good outreach.
Yesenia, is there, do you guys have a invitation for people to talk about what they would like to see on that site? Or do you guys have a vision? Or Dina, do you want to weigh in on what you were thinking, you know, what your group discussed in terms of what those changes could be?
Just briefly, it could be a place where if people wanted energy information, like what the heck's the heat pump and why is it cooling Kenna's house and not mine, or, you know, or things like that. And it also can be events like our compost giveaway that's coming up. And so it would have a timely thing and also a resource, and maybe tell more about what our committee is doing regularly.
And something that Joshua also mentioned was having resources for like homeowners, renters, commuters, and how they specifically can help out, you know, with climate action, because, you know, situations like that can make it difficult, and it's not all the same, obviously.
Great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of this more being an educational piece where people could actually go to the website and garner the information? Or are you thinking of it just being more of like the laundry list of like, hey, here's what we're doing and what we're working on?
That's a good.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Kind of open to interpretation to the committee and the conversation that we all need to have and agree upon, because it's something that all of our names are on.
Diana?
Yeah, it's a timely discussion, and Yesenia and I were covering that today. So this is actually really cool, right, Yesenia? So yeah, I think what we might look at doing, Yesenia, is suggesting perhaps a process. So just as a structure, what we had been talking about was just listing each of the working groups on the website. And then perhaps under each of those working groups, there could be resources that were listed, links, documents that were important from the working group's perspective and that might be useful to the public. So that's kind of one thought. But Dina, you were thinking about it and processing it. What do you think of that?
I think it should be a little bit of everything that we've just mentioned here. But I don't know, is there resources to beyond your research group's ideas and whatever you kind of glean from the rest of the group? Is there somebody that actually can do the work of turning it into what it needs to look like on the website?
That's an excellent question. There are limitations, as Carrie will tell us, as to what we can do with our web pages. But certainly what we could do is list the working group. Maybe, what about this as an idea? What about, Yesenia, if we invite people to send us within their sequence, within their working groups, you know, a list of resources, links, documents, whatever, that each of those working groups thinks are important. Would that maybe be a good starting point for us? And then we can kind of sort through it. What do you think?
I agree, and kind of to tie on to Dina's idea about, you know, what we're doing is under each of the working groups, like for example, for the compost giveaway, we can put that flyer and that information under those working groups, because that's who's coordinating it. And obviously it's all of us in the committee effort, but since we're categorizing it like this, it might be nice to do it that way.
I'm not quite 100% clear. I always love to work backwards. I'm like, let's work backwards, so I'm just trying to picture what your end result is. So let me see if I'm understanding what you guys want, or maybe Yesenia, it's just kind of forming right now and it's kind of free form. But like, I'm feeling what you guys want is a place where the public can go and access what this committee is doing, as well as ways that they could potentially participate themselves in their own personal life to better the environment, the planet, whatever. Is that accurate? Is that what your vision is? It is? Okay. Okay.
So I would love, just for there to be some context to this conversation, I'd love Carrie to explain a little bit about what the limitations on the city website are. And then I would kind of propose that we might want to think about a hybrid format, and especially in terms of what resources we do and don't have, of having each working group designate websites that we think are good resources to address those things, like what can a homeowner do around electrification. Those things are all already out there on the web, and the amount of time and energy and money it would take for us to build out those, a bunch of infographics, etc. Yeah. So anyway, I will let Carrie share and talk, and then we can talk more about how we think it could go from there.
Sure. So there's a couple of things. In terms of the website, the city's policy generally is to not put it's fine to put onto the website nonprofits and those types of things, but for-profit organizations like stores, companies, those types of things that are selling products, the city does not generally put those onto the website. We can't be promoting one retailer over another. Say, so it's a solar, here's the area solar providers. There's also stuff you can find pretty easily on Yelp or some other, private site. But if there are nonprofits or, like PG&E has an energy center, which has a lot of the information about home upgrades or things like that have already accumulated those, I think those would be absolutely appropriate for that. It does take staff time, which is pretty limited right now, in terms of if there's sort of one document that, is a cut and paste onto the website. That is something we can do pretty easily, especially if the links follow through, the hyperlinks, and we don't have to recreate all of those. So, actually having the hyperlinks ready to go and those types of things. If it's, Rebecca or I end up getting, 25 emails a week where, hey, can you post this? Hey, can you post this? That's not going to be terribly practical for us. So I think one of the powers that this group could help us with is having a point person to sort of accumulate those and put them into one document, and then the revision is, if we did a revision every 2 or 3 weeks, that here's just add in this part, or highlight the stuff that's new that you wanted to add in. Those are the types of things that we can do relatively quickly. We do have a email set up for climate action, and Kenna, I know you're getting those emails as the city staff. That is now posted to the website. So there is it's a group email that goes to whoever we have forwarded to. And so right now I think we have it being forwarded to the 2 chairs as well as city staff. We need that because it's a city email. We have a record retention policy for emails for public record requests. But like in this instance, Kenna and Josh are dealing and distributing all of those emails for us. So we're simply retaining it, and that type of system works out pretty good. So that type of leveraging of this group's energy is really helpful for us. I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Question. I'm curious what the traffic is like on this website. Is it like the traffic of people who come through the website?
That's a good question. I don't know. Our PR person could probably grab some Google statistics, because I know they do, when you have a website, there are Google statistics, how many hits and that kind of stuff. But Debbie, I think you're right. How hidden, I mean, it's not totally hidden on our website, but where is a city's resource site where people go for that kind of information? I'm not sure.
That's my ultimate question. So before we spend this time, money, energy, and you're saying it's limited, capacity right now, how is the best way to reach people? Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Diana?
Yeah, I hear our new addition here expressing a lot of interest in this topic. So, hey, Deborah, what do you think? Jenny, I think I think we're going to try to get a new addition to our working group here. How about?
I'd love to join your working group. I mean, it depends on what it meets. If I can do it schedule wise, so
we'll make it work. So how about just a suggestion here, because I know there's other topics we're trying to address here today at this meeting. How about Jasenia and Deborah and Sarah and I put our heads together and come up with a proposal for some basic changes to the website, coordinate with Carrie to make sure that they are workable, and with Ken and Joshua to make sure that it's consistent with kind of the general goals here, and present them at either the next meeting or the meeting after that. Does that sound good? Jasenia, is that good?
Yes, I think that is pretty fun.
And Deborah, our new addition.
Yes, great. Is there any way that we could get some information about the traffic that comes to the website and, some analytics while we're looking at this?
We can reach out to Carrie. As she mentioned, she's pretty short-staffed, but I'll email Carrie and see what she can do for us, and I'm sure she'll do what she can.
And one thing to take into account is that we haven't been pushing out the website as a resource. So if it were built out a little bit more, or we considered it a resource, we might be pushing it out as a potential resource in press releases, et cetera. So, we'll see. But I'm sure you guys will run with that.
And the other note on that, we do have a public relations. Holly Hansen does PR, so she does, I sent her, and Dina, as I sent her the flyer for the compost, and she's going to make a quick news article about that and put that on the website. She has a certain amount of that is within her contract with the city. If it becomes more extensive, she can do that, but then it costs us money, and I don't have money in the planning department budget for that. I'll look to the city council member who is one of the people who holds the budget strings for the city to say, if groups want to do what is the process for that, and if there's cost to that, we can, I can leverage outside people. It's just not free.
So that is someplace I could be really helpful. I don't know if it would be on that committee, Dana, but I would love to help you with PR. In ways to get. That's why I want to see the traffic. And is there an Instagram? And are we getting the local business owners involved? And do we do any contest to get people? Like, we're doing a compost thing. There's a perfect place to be like, you want compost? Come, here's our, it's like all those ideas to generate this. I'm not suggesting if there's no traffic there that we don't go ahead and I'm just like, let's talk about how we do the PR and how we do grassroots without spending any money, and get some of this kind of moving and shaking. So I would love to help with the PR and that type of stuff as well.
Sounds like education and outreach. Yeah.
It sounds like we need you on our team.
So just to recognize, Zeno's hand is up, and normally we would call on members of the public at the end of an agenda item, but because this agenda item is actually several agenda items rolled into one, Zeno, if you have something to address this website issue, if you have a short comment to address this website issue, I will say go ahead and say it now. And I'd like to go back to Dina to kind of finish reporting out. It seemed like sequestration got rolled over into research. So I'll recognize Zeno and then back to Dina.
Yeah, thank you for taking my remark. I think there are two types of information the public needs. And one is, what is the committee doing? What's the priorities? What is being done? What is being proposed? And the other thing, the public also needs to know what it can do itself. But I don't think we have the capacity in town really to have an up-to-date thing that is updated regularly, because this whole area is rather quickly moving in various ways, technologies, ideas. So one other approach would be that you ask each of the working groups to recommend, like, what is the main source that you find trustworthy, and the public can be directed to that, because I think it's a lot of work, and not just once, but as I said, updating that information is a lot of work. And maybe we don't have that capability.
Thank you. Ina?
Okay, so the compost event is rolling. It's happening on September 25th from 9 to 1 o'clock, where people can come load their own free compost. And I am using our sequestration email and the city email on all the contact paper, suggesting that if somebody needed help, like a senior citizen, to let us know ahead of time so we can, we're not helping everybody load, but there is reasonable help for those that might need it. So far, I've started PR by giving Carrie, hopefully, the right amount of information to the website and the weekly newsletter every week leading up to the 25th of September. And we have a flyer and kind of like a blurb / press release, and I've sent it to about 10 places so far that I know that have outreach, like a housing development with a community garden, or the Grange, or, trying to ask other people with maybe gardening connections to send it out and spread the word more that way. And I've included like local school gardens in that too. And what our group would like help with is if we could supply all of you with the flyer, and it's both in English and Spanish, and the more like the blurb description. Could you please think of any gardeners or groups that you have email us for, or whatever you feel comfortable doing? Maybe just one other person, your next door neighbor that gardens, but could we ask you to help share it out? And also, if anybody wants to volunteer on the 25th for all of the time or part of the time, we'd love to have some help with that. And I guess I need to know what should I send to you, Kenna or Carrie, what I would like everybody in the committee to have in terms of the information?
You can send it to me and CC Carrie, but I will send it out to the committee.
Okay.
So that she just has it, but I will do the work.
Okay, great.
Jasania, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just had a question for Dina. Did you happen to contact Series? And if not, I'm happy to do that. I was just wondering, because I feel like they'd be a good resource in that area.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you. I have not yet. Thank you.
Dina, is that the complete report from sequestration?
It is. It doesn't sound like there's more questions about compost, but I hope all of you at Gardens come get some free compost, as well as helping us share. And if anybody cares to volunteer with us, that would be awesome. We'd love to have you out there on the 25th.
Well, I think our group is a little bit wilted today from the heat, but I would say that the enthusiasm is probably greater than is apparent on the screen at the moment. So I know mine is. So thank you guys so much for putting the event together and getting the publicity dialed in and everything. It's very exciting to see something really concrete moving forward.
Oh, yeah, I guess I have one other little request. If anybody has had more experience than the education and outreach group, which I'm also on, in sending out press releases, and they want to have a little conversation with me to say, yeah, you're on the right track or whatever I need to do, I'd love to learn from you.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if there's a definitive spot where the compost will be yet.
Yes, I'm sorry. It is behind the youth annex, and there's a parking lot on Morris Street where the youth annex is, and at the very back of the parking lot is where the dump is going to be. It's going to be dumped the day before, and I'm trying to get the compost. I'm trying to get the okay to have the compost dumped kind of in a log so that more than one vehicle can back up to it and load at a time, because when they did this in Windsor, it went a lot more smoothly.
Deborah?
I'm happy if you want to send me your press release to look it over.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
Sonali, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was gonna suggest some of the garden stores like Harmony to put up a flyer if you guys have the capacity to do so.
Gives gardening stores a flyer and see if they'll set it, put one out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were thinking about having some spruced up flyers to hand out or put around for the Apple Blossom Parade on the 18th. So yes, one of those could go in a store bulletin board if we can find them to put in.
So Joshua was actually doing that, and he said that that should be done next week. So we'll remind him to send it out once he finishes it.
Great. All right. So thank you, sequestration and research. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about besides the website build out?
Whoops, just anything else we need to add, or is that kind of it?
No, that's it.
It's enough.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else excited to go next, or should I just pick on somebody? All right, I'm gonna pick on Woody because he's next on my screen.
Yeah, okay. No, and I actually was just going to chime in, thanks, because I can maybe kick off. I don't need to do it myself, but the Transportation Committee finally actually had a meeting just yesterday. And so this was made up of myself, Goodman, and Luke, but Luke, is no longer with us. And Zeno joined us yesterday, so it was me and Zeno. And we talked about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6, about 6 different topics, 6 plus, because we had a little miscellaneous bucket too. But we talked about the committee itself and really sort of, inviting others to join if you want to give it some oomph. And we outside of this climate action committee to others to join. Hold on, let me turn this down here. And so we also talked very briefly about the gas station prohibition ordinance that's in the works, and then sort of a little bit about what comes after that. We talked about collaboration with other organizations, transportation related organizations and agencies, groups like the Bicycle Coalition or California Walks, or the county program iWalk, the North Bay Electric Auto Association, just a whole bunch of different possibilities for reaching out and communicating and getting information and ideas from other organizations and agencies. We talked about the complete streets concept and looking at trying to have a vision for that and how do we, move forward on that. We understand there's been some work in the past on a complete streets concept, and if folks aren't familiar with it, it means really just as we have opportunities to repave streets instead of just repaving them for cars, redesign them for pedestrians and bicyclists and for really everyone. People who are, mobility challenged and, elderly in wheelchairs or, that kind of thing. So just really redesigning for everyone. We talked about the city fleets conversion to clean vehicles, and sort of, again, with a lot of these, we need to sort of get up to speed on where the city's already at and what the city has done. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel, that kind of thing. And then I think we talked a little bit about municipal e-bikes, maybe not so much. That was maybe from a previous meeting. And then we had several other miscellaneous items looking at redesigning downtown and for improved transportation, bike trails, and sort of interacting with Caltrans on a lot of this stuff. So I'll stop there. And if Alex or Zeno want to chime in anything important that I missed, or anything else, that's pretty much it for now.
What's going on? Yeah, I'd say that was a great recap, Woody. I would just add, I think we're trying to, we sent Carrie another email, so sorry about that. But we're trying to get some momentum to see if we can, I don't know, just hear from Caltrans or maybe some other groups to see how we kind of phase in a long-term plan. We recognize that at least, there's already a lot of good infrastructure for bikes and walking and things like that. But we want to think about the plan for the long term, because we obviously know it can't happen overnight, right? We can't just start, building sidewalks and all this, infrastructure. It takes time to plan and figure out, what goes where and when the next planned constructions are, things like that. So we're excited. And I think we're looking for maybe some more support in public transportation, Woody, and I think we're also maybe looking for another member. Is that correct? Couldn't hurt.
Yes, we did talk about that, and right, couldn't hurt. So new members to the committee. If you want to join our subcommittee, you're welcome. And and folks that didn't sign up for it at the outset, we welcome new members.
And or if you know any transportation aficionados that are not a part of our climate action committee, but are just members of the public that are engaged and have some time to meet, that would also work.
Great, thank you. Did you guys want to talk at all about gas station ban, or are we just gonna take that up when we take it back up in late October?
My understanding is that is sort of in the Carrie's court, and that's sort of I think we're waiting to see what RCPA. By the way, I should say, I'm just since you brought it up, the issue is on the RCPA's agenda on Monday, this coming Monday, 2:30 p.m. meeting. I took a look at what they have, and it looks really good. It's basically saying, urging the cities and the county to no longer accept and process applications for new gas stations. So good. And so I think Carrie going to be picking it up sometime.
So yeah, not me entirely, but actually the intent was, and I think I talked with Ken and Joshua about having that item on the September 22nd agenda. And I actually do have a contract planner that I'm going to ask to come as well to that meeting. She'd be the person to help me draft that. The actual ordinance language for that. I've gotten her up to speed on that already. Her name is Kelly. She's working with us on a couple other projects as well. And so, yes, the intent was to talk about it at the city council has already discussed it. And of course, Sarah Gertie is on the RCPA board, so she'll be at that meeting on Monday. And hopefully on the 22nd, she'll be at this meeting as well for that continuity. So that but council directed us to bring the item to both the Climate Action Committee and then the Planning Commission. So we are scheduled to discuss it on the 22nd. And then we'll have it go to the Planning Commission after that. The Planning Commission is the required body to review and recommend any ordinance changes to the City Council. We don't feel like it needs an urgency ordinance at this time because any gas station requires a use permit, which basically means the city could just say no. And if people call me and ask about it, I'm just going to tell them there's no way. Which, you know, I've done for a few other things where it's just like, no more CVSs, you know, that kind of a thing. You're not going to get approval for that. Just don't even try. So if someone were to call and say, hey, I want a new gas station at the corner of Main and Main, there's no urgency to it because of that, but we do want to move forward because it does take a stand and talk to the city's priorities. And I know council wants to be like the second or third city, not the fourth or fifth or sixth city to adopt this in the county. So that's the 22nd. And then from there, go to Planning Commission and then on to City Council.
That all sounds fine to me.
All right. Sounds good. Zena, did you have something?
Yeah, I have a kind of a question about this because what is a new gas station? We have in town a closed gas station, right? Downtown. Is that would that be if people try to reopen that? Would that be a new gas station or would it be?
I can answer that, Zeno. So if anything that requires a use permit, like a gas station, is closed for more than 12 months, they have to come in and it's considered new. So if it's closed for more than 12 months, it's going to be considered new. And so I'm not sure which location you're thinking of when you say there's an existing gas station.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I believe that wraps up transportation. Thank you for that, both the nice report out and the ambitious agenda. So excited to see that move forward, and hopefully all of us will rack our brains for our transportation involved friends and acquaintances and go to some, you know, socially distanced cocktail parties and meet people who want to join their team. So anybody want to go next in particular?
I'm happy to. For education, I'm happy to jump in.
Great.
I will say we did not meet in the month and later in the, actually I think early September. So apologize to our education group for that, or at least I wasn't present. So I can share some basic stuff, but I think there was some things earlier that were said that to have some overlap. So I wanted to talk briefly over those, address those, and then I'll give Sunali the floor if she wants to update on the art project at all, or the there's a more official name than the art project, but I can't remember what it is right now, so I'm very sorry. Yeah, that's where we're at. So we're working on a couple of things. I definitely think we need a little more momentum with kind of like the outreach, or not PR, but in that vein, getting the word out to the Sebastopol about our committee. And I think we're still trying to figure out exactly how to do that. Deborah, we may have to recruit you if you're available. It sounds like you have some experience and possibly some passion to do that. And we definitely need some support on that. And I'm struggling to garner energy to do that myself. But you know, I think we have the idea, we have the structure. I think it's basically about execution and figuring out how to do those things long term. If we could even get connected to people who do social media for the city of Sebastopol, we can get a couple posts up. That was a great idea we didn't even think about. And yeah, I think that's basically what I have to say. I think there's we've outreached about the compost piece that Dina shared, so that's, you know, a little bit of overlap there. And Dina, I'm happy to help you with the press release if you want to get that sent out this week or next. And any comments, questions on that, and we can move it to Sunali. Zena, looks like
Deborah has a question.
No, I was just thinking you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'd love to help you with PR, marketing, and just simple things like using what we already have. So feel free.
Cool. Okay, absolutely.
Great. And Zeno, did you have a comment for the outreach committee?
Yeah, I think it would be great to have like a column in Sonoma Western Times or whatever it's called right now. There used to be somebody in town that created a monthly column about an issue in zero waste. And actually all these articles were collected on the action group that led to this committee. So there is talent in town that highlights issues around climate change, people that have a journalistic experience or a passion about it. So I think it would be very good to have that kind of exposure, that there is somebody maybe on, what's that website called now? I kind of skipped my mind, but the follow-up of Sonoma Western Times, they have a website. So that's kind of my recommendation, that we find people that have, and they could kind of join this education committee as like an outside expert.
It's a great idea. I have reached out to them a little, I believe once or twice, but we have not had success in getting anybody to get back to us from the Sonoma West Times. So I don't know if you have a contact, or we can just try to ping them again. But yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it'd be good to get them either someone from the Sonoma West Times, or even just like a independent journalist that wants to support and help us get a little more structure to what we're doing. That sounds great.
Yeah, there's like, if you go to the website that we had, there's a list of articles from one woman who lives here in town, and she may be interested in following up on some of the climate things. And then also Sonoma Gazette, I think it's called. They really build upon local correspondents that address issues, right? So they have like a whole stable of like 30 people that regularly contribute on issues of concern to the community, and some of them have an environmental focus. And there's actually, I think, a woman who's talking about climate change already. So that could be a contact that you follow up on.
So I want to save some time for our other working groups. If anybody has resources for outreach committee, it'd be great to drop them in the chat, because they're looking for all of those. And Deborah, I believe you had your hand up.
Yeah, just really quickly, Alex, if you email me, I'll introduce you to the editor at Sonoma West. But the very first thing that you guys want to do is create a PR list. So I can go over all that with you if you just talk to me privately, and we'll.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll walk you through the whole thing. Yeah.
All right, Sonali.
Hello. So, Alex, it's through the looking glass of interconnectivity. And I feel like it's a bad sign if you don't know what that is, if that's not like sticking with people, and it makes me question whether we need to change that. But the idea was to educate and engage on climate change, but to give us the opportunity to make choices with the understanding of the interconnectivity of this complex organism called life. So, yeah, we'll have to reconsider that. Where are we at? If you're all been shared a document that's called the Art Project Proposal. Is that what it's called, Sarah? She's gonna check, but I think
so. I'll check. Yeah.
Okay. And Sarah has wonderfully, amazingly, fantastically been organizing and collating just all that this encompasses. And so I really invite all of you. I don't think it's that boring to read through. It's actually kind of fun. To look through it and give any comments and suggestions and input, or just to become more familiar with what the project is, or if you want to share that with other people who might be interested in like this beginning stage. Um, our plan was to have that proposal kind of done by mid of this month, so we can start putting it out to the greater public and inviting participation. Diana, do you have a question?
Yeah, you said that you shared the document with us, and I must have missed something. Was it shared with all of us?
It is. Sarah's gonna.
I put it in the chat last meeting, but is there another way I should like send it through Carrie or something?
I was not here at the last meeting, so.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it's good.
I'll just put it back in this chat.
It's good to put things in the chat, but also just send it to me and Carrie so that we can forward it on. I will forward that link on, because once the meeting is over, the chat disappears. Although Carrie's been working on
I
it.
actually fixed that. I think I actually fixed that. So I had a staff meeting this morning and it actually automatically saved the chat. So I think it's actually working now.
Okay.
So because we had so much interest and creativity and things were moving forward, there was something Yesenia, Sunny, I, and a few other students met this last week or just a few days ago. And there's two things that are happening at this moment. One is there's a really fun smaller sculpture art piece that Nell from Orchard View, the art teacher, she has been inspired to create with bottle caps. And the students are going to help her with that. And we're going to move forward on creating one of the art pieces, documenting its construction and the process, and use that as a way of enlisting other people while we take a moment and step back and think about how to really address this equity piece. As far as like addressing equity from the ground up, because this kind of like was a freight train and it got a lot of momentum and excitement and it went ahead. And this last week I kind of reeled it back and said, you know, I'm not sure if the piece on equity is really being met from a foundational level. And I want to just take a moment and regroup around that. With that, Carrie, you invited us. Thank you to the Spatial Arts Council. That was amazing. And Carissa and Sophia, two students, did the presentation and the slideshow. So that was really nice. I think at this moment, the youth are going to be more of our central equity piece and trying to figure out how to engage and empower them in really taking the reins on this project. I think that's where I'm at. Just curious if everybody has a grasp of what it is by now. I know there's been some confusion. If everybody has access to that document, any input, suggestions, comments, questions?
I think a lot of them are looking at the document right now.
Funny faces I see already.
Yeah. Well, I want to acknowledge like how much of a kind of many-headed beast this kind of community engagement project can be, and how hard it can be to keep all those heads pointed in the same direction. So thank you for your commitment to really engaging the community and the youth, and taking the extra time that takes, rather than just, okay, we're going to do this and I'll make it happen. So, you know, it raises the bar for how much energy is required from the organizer to try to get that kind of collaboration going.
Thank you. Speaking of many-headed beast, you should see the first piece, doesn't it? Yesenia, it looks like a many-headed beast.
It does.
Say that again.
In some ways, yes, it does.
In a beautiful way.
Great.
Sarah, Yesenia, if either of you want to add. Sarah, thank you so much. I'm so glad Thanks for like shepherding it for this long, and I'm glad you have your magic woven into it.
Yeah,
And
of course. Yeah. And there's still some more editing I have to do, but I will get that done soon.
okay, and I'm excited that Yesenia, that you're going to be a part of this in more of a way. So thank you also.
All right, so is that it for outreach education? Anything else to report?
Nope.
Oh, Diana, I didn't see your hand, sorry.
Yes, I had a question about the art project. I haven't had a chance to go through the entire document, but I do see at the beginning a reference to it being a central art piece in downtown Sebastopol. Has there been any discussion with the Public Arts Committee? Carrie, do you have any direction for us in terms of whether there's a need to coordinate placement with the Public Arts Committee? Just wondering about procedure and what this group might have to do in order to make sure that we engage with the appropriate groups.
Sure. So my understanding is that the group from the Climate Action Committee representatives were going to be returning to the Public Art Committee at their first meeting in October. I believe that's October 6th. I don't have a calendar in front of me. With some further information. They certainly had some suggestions, and they were super excited about the project. We're thinking, oh, I might have suggestions of where there's 200 extra wine stoppers or something like that, or different types of materials that could be utilized for the project. They also certainly can be used as a resource. I don't think I think it's more of an interactive process than we need to present and get approval. If it's on city property, usually that would go to city council for approval. But if they're sort of temporary in nature, I would need to check with the city manager on how they want to operate that. I know the funding for it, council approved. I don't know if council wants to see all of the locations, or if it's just a wonderful community event that's going to happen through time.
Can I ask, if you don't mind, Ken, a follow-up question, which is, do you at this point, Sunali or Jaseni or Sarah, have a sense of this being a permanent installation, or are you thinking this would be a temporary display?
Well, I'll share on this, but in my mind, at least the kaleidoscope that we hope to build would be permanent. And I think it was our goal to make these art pieces as sustainable as possible because they are recycled materials. And what kind of message are we putting out there if we have these things up for a couple months and they're meant to degrade and be thrown away? Is that kind of undermines like the foundations and the morals of the art project in a way. And I was hoping I hope that's not where we're going to go with it. I hope we're going to find a way to let it be a great thing for the community and the environment for many years. But that has its challenges.
So Carrie, I think that might be worthwhile for you and Sarah and me to coordinate on, because we want to make sure that the right arrangements are made to ensure that the goals of the art project are supported. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Jasenia. If we make something and then we put it in the recycle bin, it's like, how far forward have we gotten? Okay, thank you.
Right, and that's also, Dana, that's also an area where the PAC, the Public Art Committee, can certainly help the group, because they do, they're regularly reviewing much larger commission pieces or proposals from people. And like with the Black Lives Matter mural, which is sort of a similar process in my mind, council asked PAC to help the group get that together. And so we made sure that we had paints that were like the same paints you use for sidewalk crossings, so they weren't just going to peel in the first rain. And those were, and we say we, I don't mean me, I mean members of that group who are professional artists and understand those things. So that's where actually they might be able to help with some of that, as well as, is there a good permanent location? The Public Art Committee right now is reviewing proposals for 1-year display at the community sculpture garden at Ives Park, where you can see the sculpture paths just north of the Arts Center along the trail by High Street. I don't know if something like this would fit in that context. If not this year, because they've already gotten this, they've already gotten submittals, and they have more submittals than pieces. So it's not really fair to the artist to scoop up a space for this group. But, they could be that, hey, I know that one of the artists had talked about, the coyote that's in front of the senior center was actually only supposed to be there for a limited time. Is it time for that to be moved somewhere else? Could this be a location for it? I think all of those are things that the Public Art Committee can help Jasenia and others we can figure out. And so, so that's coming up in the October meeting for the Public Art Committee.
All right, thank you. I do want to try to save a little time in hopes that Jerry is still with us, even though he's gone dark, and can talk some about the energy group. Our funding group is not here today, I believe, but energy has a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know if you have anything to report out, Jerry.
Well, we met and we discussed the response we got to the priority list that we had discussed with the committee. And then we picked out 4 items for us to start doing research on and start scoping. We haven't done much because half of the group is on the East Coast right now. But the 4 areas that we had selected, first was measuring and how we would measure, how measurements would be done on a permanent basis. Second is on microgrid and whether there's ways to support the creation of microgrids. Not that we would do it, but find out what are the barriers and see how we can help eliminate the barriers. Sometimes it's just putting people together. Next was workforce. Everybody talked about where workforce can get the training. I think our orientation is more, how do we require the training, or how do we induce people to have the training that work in our community? And the last one was one that Lisa didn't want to drop. And so she's actually gone ahead and continued doing more research on it. I had done some research earlier on reach codes. And the extent of reach codes is not just about gas, it's about everything. We did have a discussion about reviewing our building codes in total. And except for me, nobody else is interested in doing that. And yet I think that's our building codes and our zoning are all based on a bunch of things that were important to the community before climate became important to the community. And in many cases, as Carrie has pointed out in other areas in the general plan and in zoning, we have conflicting pieces. So it'd be nice to take some of the conflicts out so that the emphasis is on climate. But that's all we talked about. And we either have another meeting tomorrow night. I don't know if Lisa has scheduled one. We try to schedule them now 2 weeks in advance of these meetings so that we have time to put something together for a meeting if we had something to present. That's it.
Thank you so much. It's just all important, and I just really want to call Jerry out for the amount of just sheer time he puts into this, as well as bringing his considerable and impressive expertise to it. You're spending a lot of time that I think a lot of us, probably it's invisible how much time you're putting in many ways, but it's not invisible when we really see the work that's coming out, even though it's like there's no product, there's no deliverable. But
most of it's collecting. You collect information until you finally find.
We're on the way, and I did forward to you and Lisa. The Carrie had sent an update on the audit results. So hopefully some of that measurement will be coming down our way in the next month or so.
But just a heads up to Carrie. An earlier meeting I had today was the one where representing us. Meeting with Climate Center Group on programs, projects that, and how you get that done in the community. And the speaker today was from the CEC. outlining all of the information that's available to us in detail level that we can access. And I need to go through the entire presentation of links and see part of it. But I think at some point, there's a number of submissions you need to do saying, I want an account. And if you would share the account with us, we'll do all the work, but we can't apply for it. I think a city council member might be able to.
So, sorry, Jerry, when you say CDC, do you mean Sonoma County Community Development Corporation?
No, this California Energy Commission.
Okay, thank you. I was like, that's really weird because I sit on that board. So
yeah, no, California
what they
Energy
do with
Commission.
housing.
No, this is all about
community
energy
development. Yeah, okay.
The Climate Center meetings, it's 6 months worth of meetings. And we have meetings every 2 weeks as well as the monthly meetings with the various groups. And the focus is on community energy resilience.
Jasenia has her hand up.
This does not have to do with the working group per se, so I'll let you finish your conversation.
Anything else, Jerry, that you want to let us know? Okay, thank you. Jasenia, go ahead.
I had a question for the entire committee because something that kind of stopped me from ranking the priority list in my own way was I'm not sure how exactly we're ranking this. And I would like to get all of your brief feedback on what we're doing. Like, are we ranking by feasibility of these options? Are we ranking by what we want to do? Are we ranking by what's most important subjectively? Like, what are we ranking necessarily?
I actually can answer your question because that's part of the part where we spent an entire meeting, 2 hours discussing was how would we do that? And the way that we ended up doing it, if you look at the detailed spreadsheet that we had, rather than just ranking them, we went down and we said, well, what are the dimensions to these things? How important is it to us, and what kind of, to us as a community? What kind of impact would it have on climate, and how would it impact it? How much would it cost? How fast could we do it? How difficult is it for us to do it? And who's going to object? And we scored all of those, in fact. And then we had a longer discussion. We did that individually. And then the four of us got together and then had a discussion as to why each one of us ranked each one of those things. That's why I think Diana said, well, why does this one stay high when I look at the rest of the list here and it says low? Because the exercise of looking at the dimensions gave us the way to have the discussion, as opposed to just what we had in our bag of prejudices and past experience. So we were able then to pull it apart. So it's not a simple exercise. Your ranking ends up looking at saying, I think we should do this one, and this is the most important because, well, it has great impact and we can do it, or whatever. And that's a constant problem in just about anything we do.
Interesting. I'm totally open to going down that path, though obviously, as you mentioned, it is an extensive amount of work, and that would take me personally some time to do, and I'm sure within my working groups. So I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think all of us look at that list and our eyes cross a little bit. So it's helpful to have a repeat of kind of, wait, how did you guys break this down? Because you hear it once and then you look at the list later and you're like, wait, how did they break that down? So Diana?
Yes, and thank you, Kenna. I'm looking at the document that was included in our packet. Are we talking about the list of climate actions for the city of Sebastopol with a numbered list? Is that what we're talking about here?
The one that the energy group shared out with their prioritization matrix on it.
Okay. There was a document, I think, that was part of the agenda for today that was a number 1 through 9 list. Are we going to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We talked about this in sequestration, so I just thought I'd explain. That was the original list that matrix was formed out of. I'm pretty sure, like, I think that's what Joshua said. And so that's just kind of like the predecessor, if that makes sense, to give us like a bigger overview and to pull from if we choose to, I believe.
Okay, thank you. So that's actually not, I get it. So the more recent iteration is the full spreadsheet that we talked about at an earlier meeting. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And let me just explain, when we started talking about it, the problem we had with the list of 9 was that when we looked at one of the bullets, each one of us had a different idea what the bullet meant. And that's why we said, oh, it could mean this, it could mean that. We should discuss each one of those.
All right. So Diana, is your hand still up?
Not anymore.
Okay. So moving on from working group reports, are there any members of the public who have anything to say before we close out this agenda item? I think we've just integrated our public comment along the way, but I think I'm supposed to say that. So in terms of chair reports, from Joshua, just the number of people in our committee seems to be shifting a little bit, but now we're losing Sarah. So if your working group is smaller, has 6 people or less, you're good. If it has less than 6 people, feel free to add more committee members. So just keeping an eye on what constitutes a quorum for Brown Act. And we did receive word that the Slack channel, as long as we build that out to be truly open to the public, then there's not going to be a problem with the committee members taking part. So that covers our Brown Act discussion for today. Nothing else to report from the chairs. And are there any members that would like to request agenda items at the next meeting? What we have so far is the gas station ban is on our 9/22 agenda. And of course, our new Civic Spark Fellows first meeting. So probably we'll spend some time introducing ourselves and introducing her.
I would appreciate if you put on the website proposal from research, but I'll let you know in advance if that is not something that we are prepared to present.
Okay.
I put it on there so there's no like last minute mixing around of schedules or agendas.
Perfect. And just as a reminder, if there are any attachments that anything that we want to go out to the whole committee, they have to be made available to the public at least 72 hours before the meeting. But because of the way city staff schedules are, we need to get those documents by Wednesday of the week before the meeting. So just calling attention to those deadlines. And then I don't believe we have any action items from that came out of this meeting other than continue on the fabulous work you're doing. So I will adjourn the meeting with 8 minutes extra in your day. Thank you so much for coming.